Coming to our next presentation, it's coming from the Dmytro Nikolaevskyi, who is the one of the authors of the law on virtual assets in Ukraine. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us, but he made a recording of his speech. So I'll put it.
Dear friends,
I'll put it now for your view, and if you would have any questions to Dmytro, he's really easy to find over the internet or just reach out to us. So yeah, thank you, and I'm putting him to the main screen.
colleagues, organizers, thank you for inviting me here and for the opportunity to talk a bit about crypto regulation in Ukraine. We will talk about our current achievements, where we are in the process now, and of course about our vision for the future. Our main goal is to build a comprehensive, smart, crypto-friendly jurisdiction here in Ukraine. I don't know how boring legal speeches can be, and I promise to do my best to share my ideas without making you sleepy. But who knows, right? So, I am Dmytro Nikolaevskyi, a Ukrainian lawyer, and I'm very glad to represent the project office of the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. By the way, digital has been the main driver of this specific legislative track since 2021. So let's move to my very first slide now. The first draft of the law on virtual assets passed the Ukrainian parliament in 2021 and was signed by our president in 2022. But it's not entered into force yet. Why? Because the delay is related to the need for additional amendments to other laws, in particular to our tax code. The logic here is simple. When you create a new economic sector, you need to have clear and transparent tax rules for both the government and market participants. This was Ukraine's first real opportunity to launch a regulated crypto market. But right after the war began, in early 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, and suddenly we faced challenges far beyond economic development. We had to survive. The interesting fact is crypto played a crucial role in that moment. In just a few months, while governments and other foreign institutions were deeply concerned about what has happened, Ukraine received more than $100 million in crypto donations. And of course, we are so grateful to the crypto guys around the world for their unbelievable support. Moving to the next. Later, in 2024, MiCA happened in the EU. This changed our plans once again. As Ukraine plans to get full EU membership, we understand our obligation to align our economic and legal frameworks with the EU. And since MiCA is a framework for crypto assets in the EU, we of course had to take it into account in the design of our legal framework. Our previous approach was totally different. That's why the whole legislative work had to start from the very beginning. The main driver of this process was the National Security and Stock Market Commission of Ukraine. At that time it was the main regulator for the crypto market in Ukraine. They made a full translation of MiCA with some minor peculiarities. But when we saw and analyzed their work, we clearly understood this regulatory approach is something we can't implement right now. It was too complicated and impossible to push the market from zero to hero. So we had to come up with something else. Next slide. That's how our new plan appeared. The plan was to create a regulatory framework that's very similar to MiCA, but less restrictive and easy to follow, especially for small businesses who are taking their very first steps, trying to build an audience of customers, test their business models, find what works and what doesn't. So, the second big reason was the idea of competition. Passing the strict rules of MiCA gives you access to the whole EU market, 600 million well-off people. But the same efforts in Ukraine obviously wouldn't bring the same results. That's why Ukraine as jurisdiction, could never effectively compete with any EU country, let alone the USA, Great Britain, and of course the Middle East or islands. Ukraine has always had the ambition to be on a short list of the world's most crypto-friendly countries, and that's why we should be ready to compete for it. Next slide. Actually, we had to prepare a new draft law in addition to the draft from the Stock Market Commission. Consequently, it caused a new problem, the necessity to choose just one of the two. The public hearings were too emotional. Crypto guys, who are naturally upset with different government initiatives and any form of market restrictions, were, as expected, on our side. A lot of other Ukrainian authorities, the National Bank, and consultants from the International Monetary Fund tended to support the more restrictive option. The dialogue lasted for more than a year and finally resulted in the decision to create one more third draft law, which had to combine the best of both worlds: consistency with MiCA and incentives for rapid crypto market growth for the first stage of market development. And of course, this ambitious task also took some time. Next slide. Here it is. Speaking about MiCA, I wouldn't position myself as a representative of the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, because I simply can't avoid a bit of prejudice. Honestly, I don't like it at all. And I never expected this kind of regulation would actually be proposed for the crypto market. In the EU, not in communist China, not in privately owned North Korea. For me, this doc is not about creating a market or stimulating economic growth. It's not about international competition for powerful players either. It's all about avoiding any possible risk. It's designed to make 100% sure that no issue will ever happen to European citizens with crypto in the future. Once again, with crypto in the future. It's something unbelievable. So, next slide. MiCA proposes an unprecedented amount of detailed regulations. It prescribes different requirements for almost all crypto-related market activities, not only for those dealing with third-party assets, but even for those who don't, such as consultants. And all this is happening despite the fact that crypto is a brand new phenomenon in our lives. We are in this situation where anonymous youngsters and internet freaks can easily be more qualified and tech-savvy than professors with prestigious diplomas from famous universities. And you know what? The depths of regulation might simply push market participants to avoid the entire regulatory framework and move to DeFi instead. A market that MiCA doesn't regulate, decentralized finance, suddenly becomes more attractive compared to the regulated centralized alternative. Is this outcome beneficial for EU member states or not? Who knows? We will see. It might sound kinda strange or bluffy from my side to criticize MiCA for both depths and gaps, but here we are. So, where are the gaps? In our legal tradition in Ukraine, we usually build concepts vertically. To regulate something, first we have to define it, place it within a broader legal framework. And as I mentioned earlier, crypto is a new phenomenon with many faces. In some cases, it looks like money, in others, like goods. In other, it can look like a contract or an agreement. So, what crypto actually is? MiCA says it's a digital representation of a value or a right, which may be transferred or stored electronically using distributed ledger or similar technology. Okay. But is crypto an asset in itself or just a representation of the value of something else? And can we really distinguish between a digital representation of something and its purely digital form? Without being too sophisticated, what we all want to understand, how we can operate with crypto in real life. What can we do with it? What can't? MiCA doesn't answer these questions. It's mostly administrative law, which regulates the relationship between supervisors and crypto asset service providers. Meanwhile, what we truly lack is clear civil law guidance explaining how crypto fits into everyday legal practice, how businesses and citizens should operate with it. Next slide. This uncertainty has very real consequences for the market. When no one knows for sure whether a specific token might be treated as a financial instrument tomorrow, most startups simply decide not to take the risk. They pause their projects, delay launches, or move their operations elsewhere to more friendly jurisdictions. And for projects dealing with tokenization of real-world assets, the situation is even worse. Their models often combine both financial and non-financial components, and MiCA give them no reliable roadmap to understand which part of the activity might suddenly fall under MiFID supervision. So, instead of encouraging innovation, this legal ambiguity just freezes it. Big players with armies of lawyers and big compliance teams can still move further, but small Web3 builders who actually push the industry forward, unfortunately, are left behind. Next slide. Let's be honest, Ukraine is living through circumstances no other European country can even imagine. Since 2022, we've been in a full-scale war with Russia. Every day brings risks, not only for people but also for the economy, for infrastructure, for businesses. And of course, this situation dramatically affects the investment climate, especially for Web3 projects. It's understandable, but it also means that we can't rely on the same slow, cautious approach that works for stable and peaceful economies. If we simply copy-paste MiCA with all its patterns, layers of bureaucracy and endless compliance, no one will come to build here. And the Ukraine crypto market will remain just a Syrian paper. So, what we are fighting for? And another challenge is the lack of human resources. The war has taken away thousands of skilled professionals, developers, engineers, analysts, people who used to be the core of Ukraine's tech industry. Many of them are now serving in the army, volunteering, or have relocated abroad. This creates a huge gap in expertise, especially in highly specialized fields, the blockchain development, digital law, for example. Even when companies want to build Web3 products in Ukraine, they often struggle to find enough qualified people to do it safely and legally. So we have a paradox. A country that used to be famous for its strong IT talent now faces a serious shortage of it. And until the situation stabilizes, we must think of alternative ways to attract knowledge through international cooperation, education, and maybe even by bringing our professionals back home one day. Next slide. Here is one more simple truth. Ukraine doesn't have a strong classical stock market today. We have few listings, low daily trading, and almost no easy way for new companies to raise money through shares. War makes this even harder, of course. And why does this matter for Web3? The EU rules imagine a world with big exchanges, many brokers, and ready services for paperwork and compliance. In Ukraine, that path is slow and expensive, or just not there. So if we copy the EU model word to word, it will look nice on the paper, but stay empty in real life. My point here is simple. Maybe capital in Ukraine will start on crypto-native rails, small pilots, clear but lean rules, and focused venues, and later it can connect to the classical market when it grows. Maybe. Next slide. And one more aspect. In the EU, there are no hard currency controls. Payments in euro and dollar move freely, and banks serve crypto businesses when they meet basic rules. Even before MiCA, a lot of Web3 firms could open accounts, pay vendors, and raise money. The rail existed. Ukraine is completely different today. We have limits for fiat currency exchange. Banks avoid crypto-related clients. As a result, normal on and off ramps don't work. Teams switch to workarounds, the market moves into the gray zone, and innovations slow down. MiCA assumes open finance exchange and bank support, and we don't have that environment yet. First, we need practical corridors for payments and clear risk-based banking guidelines. Only then, a MiCA-style regime can deliver real legal growth instead of beautiful but unclaimed framework. Next slide. But there's one point where Ukraine moves fast. Our civil law now recognizes a new object of rights, the digital scene. In simple words, it's something that exists only in digital environment, but you can own it, use it, transfer it, and protect it like any other property. Now, what does it mean for virtual assets? A virtual asset is a type of digital scene, unlike other types such as digital content. So, the default civil law tools apply: purchase, sale, pledge, inheritance, damages, and recovery options. No need to reinvent new rules from the scratch. Custody becomes a standard service. So you can say custody agreement, set duties and liability, and claim compensation if the custodian fails, for example. But there is one nuance. If any token meets the tests of financial instrument or e-money, special rules may override the general digital scene regime. But until a special rule applies, the civil law default holds. And that gives builders and lawyers a solid, simple baseline to work with. Next slide. One more Ukraine peculiarity: transitional period. MiCA was built for a calm, well-banked EU. Ukraine lives in a different reality. We are at war, our banks still avoid crypto firms, finance exchange isn't fully open, and we don't have a mature stock market to absorb new risk. So, first we need a breathing room. We are proposing a softer regime for a transitional period up to 2032. The idea is simple: protect users without overloading businesses. Give honest teams a clear path to launch with plain disclosures, basic IEEE, clean custody, and simple reporting. And also let real-world assets projects run controlled pilots with hard rules on redemption and reserves, but without the full weight of bureaucracy on day one. This is not the regulation. It's proportional regulation for our conditions, with a fixed sunset. As institutions, banking access, and financial exchange flows normalize, we will tighten the rules and align with MiCA fully. Next slide. Also, we propose approved jurisdictions track. Ukraine accepted CASPs and token issuers from jurisdictions that meet basic integrity tests. FATF compliant, not an aggressor state, not under sanctions, of course. During transition period up to 2032, we will treat debt tokens issued in any trusted state if they were issued in Ukraine. This temporary equivalence removes friction for clean actors and lets supervision focus on real risks. During the same period, CASPs authorized in those jurisdictions may market and provide services in Ukraine to local clients. So Ukrainian users can legally access best-in-class providers while our domestic market scales up. A trusted country means any EU member state, UK, Norway, Switzerland, Canada, USA, Singapore, Republic of Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. Next slide. And one more thing. Our national bank is clear. No virtual assets may be used as a legal mean of payment in Ukraine, except e-money tokens pegged to the hryvnia and issued under national bank supervision. Only that hryvnia's e-money instrument can be used to pay for goods and services. What about everything else? Virtual assets as USDT, for example, may be used only inside the virtual assets market. For example, as a trading pair or settlement when buying and selling virtual assets, but not for salaries, rent, retail, taxes, or utilities. The logic here is simple: protect monetary sovereignty and price stability. Crypto can be a property. It's tradable, but payments stay on hryvnia rails only under our national bank control. Next slide. As you probably know, some tokens under MiCA is classified as financial instruments, and we also try to take a lighter touch there. Just because distributed ledger technology already solves part of the problems that classic security law was built to handle. Transfer, settle on chain, ownership is visible, history cannot be quietly changed, and core rules can be enforced by code. That means the state should focus less on the mechanic of circulation and more on the issuer promises. Trustful disclosures, clear redemption rules, adequate reserves in case, of course, if they are promised, and real liability when things go wrong. There is also a policy reason. By keeping stricter rule for traditional financial instrument and softer regime for crypto tokens, we can measure which path actually grows the economy. If we apply the same heavy rulebook to both, we won't get the data to compare outcomes, and our approach create a safe test bed, protect users, watch the metrics, and then keep what works best for Ukraine. Next slide. And finally, I have some words about taxes. Of course, we tax profit, not capital gain. Profit is the difference between what you sell and what you paid, documented and calculated. A tax duty appears only when you exit to fiat. If you exchange one virtual asset for another, nothing is taxed at the moment. The cost basis rolls over the new asset, and you settle the gain or loss when you finally cash out to hryvnia or other fiat money. By default, no VAT applies to these operations. Reporting stays simple. Individuals self-declare their annual profits and pay the taxes. Service providers dare to make it even easier. They issue clear statements, keep records, and on a lawful request confirm user data and totals to the tax authority. Short idea: tax only real profit in fiat, keep crypto to crypto neutral, remove VAT friction, and make compliance push button for honest users. Next slide. Companies. Companies pay a straight 18% corporate tax on profit. CASPs have two separate tax streams: 18% on their service profit, fees, commissions, etc., and 18% on proprietary profit from virtual assets operations. These are calculated and paid separately. Individuals pay 18% on their taxable gain, as defined earlier, plus a wartime 5% military fee. For the first year of the law, individuals get a choice: either 18% on gain or 5% on gross virtual asset sales. In both options, the 5% military fee applies additionally. Short takes here: one clear corporate rate, 18%, two clean CASP streams, and 1 year on ramp for citizens to choose the simpler path. Next slide. And some final conclusions. Full copy in Mika would give us a beautiful framework that nobody uses. Different realities need different tools. Our answer is proportional, balanced, not permissive. A transitional regime to 2032. Small finance-like tokens, up to 1 million euro in a total cap, stay under crypto rules, not under security law. CASPs from trusted jurisdictions need to have fast lane to serve Ukrainians. Payments stay on hryvnia rails. Crypto is property, not legal tender. Civil law recognizes the digital scene, so ownership, custody, and contracts work. Taxes hit real profit at fiat exit. Crypto to crypto stays neutral, no VAT. This is our testable way. We protect users, keep developers at home, measure results, and align fully with Mika when the ground is ready. One goal, 2 markets, 2 tailored roads. Thank you all guys, one more time. It was a real pleasure to be here and to share our ambitious plans with this beautiful audience. And I hope we will see you in the future. So, good luck!